Hey guys, Varuna here. I'm interviewing players competing in the Horus Heresy Legion's World Cup. Please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Lurifax B. I'm a player in Denmark and I play in the Nordic team. I'm currently captain because the others didn't want it.
How did you get into the game and how long have you been playing for?
So I got into the game, I think about a year ago, if my memory serves correctly. And I think it might have been by chance. I played other card games. At that time I played Hearthstone, and I played another card game before that called Duels of Champions, which is a Might and Magic card game as well. That was dying, so I was looking for something else, and Hearthstone seemed kind of stale at that point. And before that, I played other card games, and I think I stumbled upon it because I also have a love for 40k. And then I think what happened was just like, that looked interesting, wanted to give it a try, and then I fell in love with it because I thought it had, at that time, none of the irritating RNG elements, and it was more skill-based game.
Tell us about your teammates and how long have you known them?
So my teammates, Alex, 78, I haven't known that long. Played him a couple of times. And then Tribune, also haven't known him since the World Cup, so we joined by chance. But both good players. Alex is from Finland, and Tribune is from Sweden.
Tell us about your competitive history. What tournaments have you won?
So we won tournaments in Masterclass, and we won that. It was a team effort with me and two others, Spellbreaker and Doles, and we won first place in that. Before that, I played others, and I won tournaments in those.
For the World Cup, how is your current round going for you?
So the current round, I tanked for the first time. I didn't win my rounds, but my teammates are still playing, so we might actually win this. We won all the other rounds so far.
And how is your team doing overall?
Very well, surprisingly. We were ranked 1 in our group. We didn't try hard, but it just kind of happened that we won all matchups so far.
What is the biggest lesson you've learned competing so far?
I think that in general, preparation, testing, trying out different strategies, and finding out what best counters which is probably the best advice I could give, because there's a lot to learn in the matchups and picking the right counters and so on.
What was the reasoning behind the 3 Warlords you chose for the World Cup?
I played them before from the tournament I mentioned earlier. I didn't play a lot of Vulcan before that, or Perturabo, and I found out that they're really effective in tournaments because they're versatile and they're hard to counter. The last one I picked, Ahriman, is just a very, very good all-round Warlord. And since none of the others claimed any of those, I just went with a pretty safe bet and chose those 3.
Who was the most difficult opponent you've faced so far?
So this might be a chuckle, but since I lost to Chuckles, which at this point had not won any games, he beat me 2-1. And the reason why, he had untraditional warlords such as Saul, which is a kind of a toss-up, and then he played Typhon, won those games, which was a big surprise to me. But besides that, I've had some hard matchups as well. But that was the hardest. I lost it, so there you go.
And who do you think is going to be the most difficult opponent going forward?
From the other groups, I would say the France region, because I know Orthanel and that team, they're really, really good. And I think they might still be leading. In our own group, I think US and Canada are some of the top seeds, but we already played those. We won, narrowly won. The ones we haven't played yet, I would say Belarus.
What do you think of the Crucial Choice and Korn's Favor ban?
I love those bans because it moves some of the RNG factor from it. I think Crucial Choice is a great card, but it adds an element of RNG that shouldn't be there when it terms of World Cup. I'd rather be measured on skills. Korn's Favor, I think, is just such a big impact that since we can't change Warlords and people checked without that knowing, I think it's a good call to not include that either.
What are some improvements you'd like to see to the game?
I would like EG to reduce some of the RNG and luck-based cards and focus more on skills. Some of the cards they've added are fun, such as Crucible Choice, but they can just determine the game based on luck. I would like to see less of that in the future.
Do you have any advice for ranked players who might be looking to compete in tournaments?
Play as many as you can. Think a lot about the warlords that you're picking. Choose something you're comfortable with, but do not choose a warlord that can easily be countered. Think about the warlords that you have, if they have any blind spots, such as if you're an opponent, what would be a hard counter to those 3 specifically? since you can choose which ones you go with. Having a very clear weakness in the Warlords you've chosen is a big disadvantage. So think about versatility in Warlords, but also on how you could counter others and what would be the best counter to them. And if there is one, how can you actually minimize it with your card choice?
Who is your favorite Warlord to play, and who is your least favorite to play against?
So my favorite Warlord is Gilliman. I really like Ultramarines, also outside the game. I also like playing Gilliman as he is fun mid-range kind of builds. This is not the DD Gilliman builds I'm playing. And it also has quite a lot of thinking. So it's a high skill base, but also easily countered. Least favorite, I would say Knights, any of the Knight Warlords, but specifically Cerestus Egerthier. It's silly that his Warlord ability is so much better than the others. Getting any weapon is hard to counter. Other Warlords you can counter with an Edict if they're tactic reliant and so on. But if they always get weapons, that's harder to do. And they're frustrating to play against.
Would you like to do any shoutouts to any players?
Yes, I would like to shout out to my teammates, Alex and Tribune, for fun teammates and having a great team so far. I'd also like to give a shout out to all the players, but specifically to Masterclass community, which has been great fun and it's been like a second home for me and made this game so much more fun. Thank you guys.
Any social media accounts you'd like to share with the audience?
I have a Twitch stream that I've streamed on 3 times, I think, with this, and I'm also posting some of my World Cup games. Just search for Lurifax B. There's a couple of videos there, but it's just for fun.
All right. Thank you so much for the interview and best of luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.